Hey guys, I'm Nick and welcome back to the channel. Well, after 5 months without any Star Trek on our screens, we finally got something new while we're all sitting at home in quarantine and lockdown and whatever, and just waiting for something to come on. And finally we're hit with a new series in the form of Lower Decks. And I've watched the first episode and I enjoyed it. I thought there was some really nice moments. I laughed out loud in a few bits and pieces. So let's take a run through of this very first episode of Lower Decks and see what it had to offer. I think the cast was good. There was some good funny lines of dialogue that had me chuckling out loud. Not huge rolling around the floor laughs, but definitely a few good out loud chuckles, which I think was good for a first episode. There was plenty of Star Trek lore, particularly Next Generation, right from the get-go with the opening title sequence. The font that they've used for all the graphics is the same as the Next Generation font. Right from the start, this episode really felt like it was embedded in the ethos of Next Generation to me. I really was amused by the opening title sequence, the way the ship, the Cerritos, arriving at all these different hostile situations and then kind of turning tail and running away. So it sort of had them in fights against Romulans and Borgs and getting attacked by space creatures and all this sort of stuff. And it would sort of quickly turn around and run away. So I found that quite humorous to sort of indicate that this isn't the ship on the front line of the Federation. It's kind of a backup vessel. It's doing second contact missions, and they're not at the front line of the Federation. They're just kind of hanging around doing some stuff at the back and maybe not getting their hands as dirty. So I thought that was kind of funny. The theme music and just the graphics, it reminded me a lot of the Voyager opening title sequence, where they had sort of beauty shots of the ship, you know, rolling through asteroid fields and passing by comets and all that sort of stuff. It was very much reminiscent of the Voyager opening titles, I thought. So it was a good start in that regard. I thought this episode did a really good job of introducing the crew and the dynamics between them. We got to know Mariner and Boimler and Tendi and Rutherford, you know, quite well in this first episode, and what their place was on board the ship. We also got a good look at the command crew in the sense of Captain Freeman and the first officer. Even though the tone and flavour of the show was kind of comedic, I definitely felt like it was still Star Trek, it was still Starfleet, it was still the Federation. Just because the characters are a little bit more quirky, a little bit more humorous coming out of their mouths, it didn't take away from the fact that this kind of felt like it existed within the Next Generation universe. I really enjoyed the episode. I thought it was great. Loved it. The only criticism I probably have about the first episode is the fact that it felt very rushed. It felt like I was watching a regular Next Generation 45-minute episode that ran for 26 minutes. We would be in and out of scenes very quickly. There was an A and a B story going on with the whole zombie infestation on board the ship in orbit, while we had Beckett and Mariner on the surface being attacked by the big spider and doing the second contact stuff there. We had Rutherford on a date with a Trill girl. So there's a lot of different stories going on in this episode, and we were cutting back and forth between them quite a bit. And because it was only a 26-minute episode, I did feel like we were going in and out of scenes very, very fast. And it's sort of like, we'd just seen a scene and then went bang, we're on to the next one. It was a very, very fast-paced storytelling, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It felt to me like it would have had a little bit more breathing space to let the jokes resonate, to let the plot resonate and so forth, if it had been, you know, maybe 35 minutes or something long rather than sort of 26. It just, I felt a few of the scenes, because there was a lot of plot going on with a lot of different characters in different scenes, that it would have maybe benefited from just a little bit more breathing space. Just give it maybe 10 minutes extra running time or something, just to let it breathe a little bit between scenes. It was sort of in and out, chop, chop, chop really quickly. But that being said, the jokes were good. I was laughing out loud. It was definitely an enjoyable 26 minutes of entertainment that definitely felt very embedded in the Next Generation universe. The Cerritos felt very much like the inside of a Galaxy class ship. All of the graphics, the hallways, the control panels, the sound effects, all that sort of stuff definitely reeked to me of a starship that was built around the same time as the Enterprise D. And it was very nostalgic, I guess, to kind of hear all those sound effects, to see all those graphics. And I think that really helped to sell it to me and embed it in canon. And I think Mark McMahon has said, and a few people have said, that they're doing their best, they very much can, to definitely ground this show into the Next Generation canon. And I think even though it's got a comedic tone to it, which I enjoyed, I think this show might appeal a little bit more to all of the kind of the naysayers out there that haven't liked Discovery, that haven't liked Picard, saying they're too woke or they're too politically correct, you know, and they're just, the show's all about, you know, driving the agendas of, you know, social justice warriors, all that sort of palaver I hear over and over again. I think this show maybe will get a bit less of that. It's definitely more grounded in that Next Generation universe. It was good to see the holodeck on a ship that was sort of, you know, same era as the Enterprise D with the yellow grid lines in the black room. And all that sort of little nostalgia, you know, that took me back to the Next Generation era. Now, in this episode, we got a little bit of a surprise reveal of information we didn't know before, which is the fact that Ensign Beckett Mariner is, in fact, the daughter of the Captain Freeman. Captain Freeman is talking on a communication between her and her husband, who is an admiral, and it would seem like that Mum's been got daughter on board the ship, and she's maybe not too happy about it. Mariner's a bit of a wild child. She's a bit hard to control. Maybe she hasn't found her feet. She's been bumped around to different postings on different starships. Mum isn't quite too happy about having her on board the ship because she's just going to cause trouble. So I'm sure there's plenty of really interesting and funny comedic opportunities to be had between mother and daughter there in that dynamic between Captain Freeman and Ensign Mariner. I thought it was interesting to see that Ensign Rutherford had only recently undergone his cybernetic enhancement. We haven't heard how that happened. Maybe he had an accident of some kind, and similar to Lieutenant Detmer. Detmer in Discovery having her cybernetic augmentation after an accident. But it would seem like Ensign Rutherford, his cybernetic augmentation is of Vulcan origin, and every now and then he starts speaking in Vulcan. Occasionally his emotions get repressed. There's some weird things going on there of a Vulcan nature with his augmentation that are kind of not quite working correctly, which I'm sure there'll be some comedic opportunities mined from that in coming episodes as well. One other thing I think the show did quite well was being able to walk that line between serious Star Trek episode and a comedy series. If you push it too far, it's disrespectful. So I think this show did quite a good job of making kind of a serious episode of, you know, a Next Generation style, you know, episode, but also injecting comedy throughout to a level that didn't disrespect the Star Trek that has come before. I enjoyed the little bit at the end too, where Mariner was kind of trying to give Boimler like a mentoring or whatever, and kind of give him a thing, and he was going through all the different previous kind of Starfleet people like Sulu, and had a sword, and it was name dropping, you know, Deanna Troi and all that sort of thing. I thought that was kind of cute. I expect we're going to see a lot of little kind of cute in-jokes throughout this series that kind of reference our past Star Trek personnel. Particularly of the Rick Berman Star Trek era of Next Gen, DS9, Voyager, and even Enterprise. So here begins our 23 weeks of Star Trek, starting with Lower Decks. We're going to rip through that for 10 episodes, 10 weeks of that, and then Discovery. So I'm really excited about all the things that are coming up in the next weeks and months on the front of Star Trek, and I hope you're excited too. Drop a comment in the comment section. What did you guys think about the first episode of Lower Decks? Did you enjoy it? Did you like it? Did you not like it? What bits did you like most? And and what are your overall thoughts about the characters in the show? Let me know what you reckon. Don't forget to subscribe. As always, guys, please share this video. Check out my merchandise. That'd be great to support the channel. And until then, stay safe, and I'll see you guys next time.